Welcome to the name game. Workout number 113 is top rope. 5 rounds for time with a 20-minute cap. 5 farmer's carry, where 2 lengths of 25 feet is 1 rep. For males, it is 70 pounds per hand. For females, it's 53 pounds per hand. 5 rope climbs. The RX height is 15 feet. And 50 crossover single leggers.
I need a break. Let me pretend my shoe's untied.
And we're off. Starting off with 5 farmer carries laps, which is 10 lengths. We're going to see about how long these take. But it's kind of awkward, not going to lie. I mean, this is significantly harder than if it was... I've done a fair amount of these, so I'm fairly used to it at this point. But yeah, they're kind of awkward, and it's just really the turnaround that it makes your shoulders work a whole lot harder.
Yeah. Well, because you could even see as you turn, the kettlebells will swing.
Yep.
And so you end up burning your grip and shoulders, redirecting that swing so you're not, going off into the next lane of traffic, basically.
Yep, and it's sort of like if people have done a dumbbell step up, especially if you're a shorter athlete and you have to kind of throw them as you go up. It's sort of like that, where it's there's a trade-off between you can use less shoulders and just kind of move a little bit slower, or you can be a little bit more quicker with it, where you're trying to minimize time under tension, but that's going to demand a little bit more of your shoulder. So we can revisit the farmer's carries in here in a bit. So it's just a little under a minute for those farmer's carries, 10 lengths. I think it was somewhere around 6 seconds or so per length, which would make sense. It's right around a minute. So
Yeah. And as you did those, something I think for other people, obviously this is a grip intensive workout, and it's a very much a rope climb workout. We were doing the math before, and it's 25 rope climbs. For the vast majority of people, that's a lot. And so it becomes very much a rope climb workout. And so, Ben's super fit, so he just breezed right through those farmer carries. But something where if rope climbs are going to be a gigantic bottleneck for you, you're just not good at them, you might want to save your grip where, instead of doing the turnaround every single time, maybe you go down and back, put the kettlebells down, turn your body around, pick them up and go. That's going to be slower, obviously, but it's going to tax your grip in your shoulders way less than if you, handled the kettlebells the entire time.
Yeah, and that's something that, if it was a deadlift farmer's carry workout, you're probably not going to do that because you don't want to, re-bend over and do that many times. But if the limitation for you is grip or shoulders, then you have to find a way to take the pressure off that at some point. So even if it's making more pressure by maybe not ideal pacing or efficiency standpoint, it's as long as it's taking the pressure off your grip, that's the goal of a break like that.
Sure.
So didn't see exactly, but maybe somewhere around the 2.5 minute mark, I was off the rope and back onto the other rope. Right around 3 minutes or so. And these are one where, at this point, if you're at least one of my athletes, you've definitely seen these quite a bit, just getting used to them. Not necessarily because I think they're going to replace double unders, but more so just people having as much exposure. And if it does come out next year as a pegboard recheck, so to speak, and what I mean by that is they're hey, where are you practicing these? Let's see if you actually stuck with it or not. Not because they're gonna again replace a different skill or be the new thing. But that being said, I think it's just a good thing when a new skill comes out to try to dial it in. So that's sort of my thought process behind throwing these in.
Yeah, I think that's very much. I think that was the style of Castro, and I would think it's going to be the style of Bosman. Is their mental process is well, were you practicing these? You got exposed on these last year. Let's see if you put in the practice for them, right? And so, it's something where, if you see something new, I feel like you can almost guarantee you'll see it again at some level of competition, right?
Yeah.
It might not be at the same exact level, but you'll probably see it again.
So an excellent example would have been semifinals are currently going on as we're recording this, and they're seeing the seated to seated legless rope climb, which that was originally supposed to be in that Apalco workout that was on like CBS or whatever the news channel was for the games from last year. It got canned because of the rain. So I think Bosman was like, well, I really wanted to use this, and I got to find somewhere to put it, so I guess I'll throw it in this semifinal. That's what I kind of feel like happened there. But so like that's a good point. Like even if it's not the same level, or even if it's not like the next calendar year, like even if in 2023 it doesn't, or 2024 it doesn't come out in quarterfinals, it could come out in 2025 quarterfinals, like the crossover double under or single under that is. So it's just good to kind of keep a touch on that kind of stuff. So I kind of took a peek over the clock and I was like, well, probably going to finish this workout, but I'm not going to have a lot of time.
What's the cap on this workout?
20 minutes. So like that's like one of those times where it's like,
oh man, tying your shoe. What are we doing here?
Yeah, rookie mistake. They're actually double knotted too. But
that was a
good lesson to.
I'm pretty sure you untied it. Like, I need a break. Let me pretend my shoe's untied.
And that's something that I would have totally let that go if it was like a 10-minute or even a 7-minute workout. But in a 20-minute workout, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take the time to tie my shoe right now.
Imagine your shoe coming off mid rope climb and you're sliding down between your shoe and your sock. Your foot with that rope burned so bad.
It's actually really funny. I was warming up the other day and I didn't have my shoes tied, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna do a quick warm up rope climb, and I started sliding down and my shoe completely came off. I was like, whoa. I'd never done that before. I was like, well, I guess I should have known, but now I do. Got to tie your shoes for rope climbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I want people to notice here, and I'm, by no means am I elite at crossovers, but if you can avoid pulling those knees up to your chest, and especially any sort of crossover, but especially a single under where you don't really need to jump very high, and kind of leave your legs hang similar to like a double under once people get pretty good at those, it really keeps your heart rate down and minimizes the amount of fatigue that you get from these. So if you can find a way to do that, and that just might be a number of practicing it, it's definitely helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
So this next round here, I start breaking, and I think I've actually done this the round before already, but I start breaking all the farmer's carries once. I think you could easily break them twice, and it probably is not going to slow you down at all. Just the grip was feeling it. Like by the time I got to the end of this workout, it was definitely a forearm pump. It wasn't like just that. Like there was definitely some breathing, some other stuff that was going on. It wasn't like it was like solely a grip limited workout, sort of like Popeye. I don't know if that one's come out yet or not, but it's just kind of good to keep in mind that whatever you can do to minimize that time and retention is going to be helpful. Yeah, and you can even see my turns are starting to like become more like loopy, for lack of a better term. Where like at the beginning I would like be a little bit more abrupt with my change of direction. They start, again, I kind of compared Michael in the one video to like turning like a boat when your grip's blown up, and that's actually like a smart thing to do, but also like the sort of ending up what you sort of are forced to do at that point. Like you turn a little bit slower so that you can minimize the amount of grip input that you're putting into it. Yeah, so obviously the more that you can use the lower body and keep your center of mass close to the rope, that's going to be super helpful. And the quicker that you can kind of like pull your feet under your butt to be able to, again, like use your legs to stand up, like, stand up versus like hand over hand pulling. Obviously that's going to be helpful. The other thing that I try to think about is like putting my hands like together, where like the one's like literally sitting on top of the other. And that way you're not in this like arm spread apart, and then that lower arm is like at like 90 degrees, and you never get to like that dead hang position, so you just keep all that bicep tension, and that often also contributes to forearm fatigue if you're carrying a lot of tension through your biceps the entirety of that pull. So just for a little bit of context for people, we have seen farmers carries before, not in like the open division, but in the age groups last year's their semifinal had I believe it was like a 10-round workout of one legless, or I think it might have been like 5 farmer carries, like one legless rope climb, and like 15. No, it was like one legless, 6 farmer carry, I want to say laps at 70 a hand for males, 53 for females, and then 15 box jumps to a 30-inch box. So I definitely do not think something like this. Again, kettlebells this year were on the equipment list. I heard Boz on a podcast say that they might be moving away from equipment lists in the future, but obviously if it came out this year, it's going to be on in future years. So being able to continue to work on the kettlebell stuff, even though it didn't come out this season, is going to be super smart for people. And especially if you're age group athletes, that's something that we've seen both years that they've had that in the semifinal. So you definitely should be practicing that at that too.
So, I know this isn't the point of this video, but I haven't heard the podcast. So, just out of curiosity, why did Bosman say that they're going away from equipment lists?
I feel like I really did not like his response. I I think this was on the CrossFit Games podcast. I think he was talking to Chase Ingram, and Chase was like, well, kind of playing devil's advocate. I want to say that's who it was. I could be wrong, but basically playing devil's advocate of like, well, a lot of people were complaining that like, I forget what it. Oh, the bench. The bench wasn't on the equipment list, so why did the bench get used? And Bosman was like, yeah, well, we said it wasn't like exclusive. And then it's like, well, what's the point of the equipment list? And Boston's like, to be honest, we might be going away from that in the future. And it's like, how are you supposed to play a sport? No, it didn't answer the question, but it was also like, how are you supposed to play a sport if you don't know what equipment it takes?
Yeah.
Like, that's wild to me. I don't think they'll, I hope. It came from Bosman, so I could be wrong, but I hope that's not the case. Because that'd be a nightmare. They're like, we don't know if you need kettlebells or not, so you don't know if you need an air runner or an echo bike and not an assault bike or something. Like, how are you supposed to know that?
Kind of why the equipment list started was during the COVID year, where it was like, all right, we got to let people, if we're going to even do this, we got to let people know what equipment they need so they're able to participate. And they had to use things like, you need a box and a dumbbell.
Yeah.
Jump rope, right? And that was it.
Yeah, but even like 2017 when they first introduced the dumbbell, it was like they gave all the affiliates like, I don't know how long it was, but it was at least like a month notice of like, hey, you're gonna need dumbbells this year. Which, to be honest, a month isn't enough. But like even giving them some notice of like, hey, we're going to use these this year, versus like, hey, the kettlebells are on the equipment list, but we're not going to use them in like the open or quarterfinals. It's like, I guarantee you people like went out and bought kettlebells and now they like didn't even use them. I'd be pissed if I was an affiliate owner and I went out and bought kettlebells for that.
Yeah, you could easily spend like $1,000 on kettlebells and not even use them.
Yeah, for even if it was like a single pair, like not pair, but like a single like set, like having a couple of each weight, like. And then if you need to run multiple heats, right, you could have spent thousands of dollars and then just not used it. Not to say that you wouldn't use it in like your programming and stuff, and that'd probably be their argument, but that's a ridiculous thing to say. Yeah, that's definitely, that's frustrating. Luckily we've already had kettlebells for us personally at our gym, so it wasn't the end of the world, but it's one more point of frustration for the affiliate owner, I feel like, right now. So, sort of round number 5 here. Definitely feeling the forearms. Just finished out those kettlebell farmers carries. It was really just like we said, like there's 25 rope climbs, so it's just a matter of like the only thing that the farmers carries really did was just like fatigue the grip a little bit more, so that it made the rope climbs even more challenging, right? And it's sort of like the opposite where like you would think as you're fatiguing your forearms, like you're gonna want to use your forearms less. It's almost like as you fatigue your forearms, like you almost have to use them more. Like you have to like focus on like squeezing even harder because like you feel like you're falling off, and then that blows up your grip even to a greater extent. So just trying to manage the grip fatigue, obviously, here's the biggest thing. Yeah, and like Chris mentioned earlier, like I would definitely go listen to the podcast. There's also a video version of the podcast that we did on rope climb technique. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll make sure to link to it here. But that's definitely something that will be hugely helpful, rather than just trying to think about developing, grip endurance. If you can develop the efficiency of the movement, that's going to be, again, your biggest bang for your buck.
Yeah, if you can go into a workout like this with the skills hammered home, it's going to be a much more enjoyable experience.
It's 50 crossover single unders. These actually did get challenging just from the, for me at least, rope climbs elevate my heart rate, and I think it's just a time under tension thing. So that plus just general arm fatigue at this point between the shoulders for the carries and the grip, just feeling a little bit less coordinated when you're actually trying to do these. So I definitely tripped a couple times in the last set or two. But again, there's no reason in something like this not to get right back to work. Alrighty, folks, it's that time. Be sure to submit your scores to the leaderboard at zorfitness.com/TNG. You're more than welcome to share this and take it on with some friends, and best of luck on the workout.